Then, dude, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate this.
Of course, of course.
Dude, you're an absolute legend in the Smite scene. You were a pro player for many years, even winning the Smite World Championship back in 2018, even further becoming that season's MVP. And you were competing in Deadlock for a little bit. So there's a lot for us to discuss. But before we get into that, I just want to take a step back because I want to understand your roots. And to understand that, I feel like it's best to start at the very beginning. So what got you into gaming, and how did that translate you getting into Smite?
So I got into gaming. My first ever thing was the I don't even know what the name is. The like little Nintendo.
Like the DS?
No. It was before that. It was like the long thing, and it had the big charts, and you'd stick them in. I don't know what it was called.
The Nintendo 64.
Maybe? No. Like the handheld.
Maybe
it was the NES. It was something long. It kind of looked like a PSP, but it was Nintendo's.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing that I ever got, and then I got into the small square, and then the DS, and then all that stuff. I think it was called like the Nintendo Color, the square thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. I can't remember offhand, but
the Game Boy.
Yes, yeah.
The Game Boy. Yeah, when you said color, I was like, I remember like blue Game Boys and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And then went from that into the DS, and then I got into the GameCube, and then I kind of just skyrocketed from there. Then I got the PS2, and then Wii, and then all the, every year you had to get it for Christmas or something like that, and that's kind of where I started for my stuff. And then it kind of just translated, I think in 2011 or 12, I got into gaming, and I just did a lot of gaming on the computer. I at the time was using like a cheap like Dell computer that, your computer or your Smite's just lagging at like, 40 FPS. You're running around seeing like a slideshow and everything like that. And then I started watching it was like the start of like 2012. I started watching the SPL, like the weeklies. I don't know if you were around at that time, but the weeklies that were going on that everybody was playing for like $50 at the time. But at the time, that's just everyone's passion. That's where everyone wanted to be. And I was like, oh, this seems interesting. Like I could get into competitive, and that's kind of like early, like if you didn't watch COD or Halo or anything like that, that's like early days of like where esports like started growing around like 2012, I'd say, if you weren't like a Halo or COD or anything like that, or League, I guess, as well. But that's kind of like the start of where Smite was. And then watching that, I mean, I was always a fan of Barra from that time, and luckily I got the team with him. But I got super passionate about that, and I was like, oh yeah, I think I can do this. And then that year of 2012, when everybody went to Worlds, me and Scream at the time grinded ranked the whole entire time, got to Masters at that time, which at that time was considered like, oh, you're like actually the GOAT. And so when everybody came back from Worlds, that's when everybody was grinding again. And then I was all in the queues, and then, it took a couple of years, but I ended up getting noticed. And that's kind of how my whole journey started.
Yeah. Dude, first of all, I'm just happy to hear that you were addicted to gaming like the rest of us, going through all those old consoles. I think I started off when I was like 5 years old. I remember I was playing Halo. Don't tell my parents. I was playing Halo when I was 5 years old.
Dude, it's so fun. I mean, thinking about it, like all the games that you used to play and everything like that. Like I used to play Mario all the time on the GameCube, Super Mario Sunshine, I think it was called. Just like grinding all the stars, and that's the true addiction, just trying to 100% everything.
Was Mario like your first game that you started playing ever?
No, I think it was it might have been, no, it was Pokemon. It was Pokemon. Yeah, it was Crystal, I think. Yeah, Pokemon Crystal, I believe it was called.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Going back to Smite, when you first got into Smite, so watching the SPL, is that what initially got you into Smite?
So I started in League before that, and I only played the 3v3 in League. Just played a bunch of that. It was really fun. And then one of my friends at the time, they were like, "Oh, look at this game. It's third-person League, basically." And I was like, "Oh, that seems interesting. It seems really fun." And then I played it, and I was like, "Oh, this has got potential." I think I played it for a bit. Got to level like 20, and then I stopped for a bit and kind of like just went to go play whatever else. I think I was playing a game called War Z at the time. And War Z and Daisy, when they were mods and stuff like that, I was playing with my cousin. And then I was like, I'm going to give this another shot in Smite. And then I just ended up playing it again. And I was like, oh, this is a little bit better. And then I just kind of kept playing it and going. And then I was like, oh, this is this is actually pretty good. And then I started playing Conquest because I was only a jouster. And then, yeah, I started playing Conquest, and I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty addicting. And yeah, it kind of just went from there.
Dude, that makes sense coming from like 3v3 in League. You know, you just want to go right into Joust. That's what I did too.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. You just grab two friends. Like, were you just playing with two friends?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's the easiest intro for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like you just start learning the characters, and then once you just get to know everybody, then you just hop on over to Conquest. It's like I already know how to play these characters. Just focus on Conquest.
Yep. I was playing. My start was Crit Tier. I was Deathbringer Crit Tier when he came out. Yep. Dude. 957 swings. I remember it. Just running at people in Joust, and I was just cooking everyone.
Dude, this is actually why we need Crit to stay in Smite, because my start was Crit Nem. Yeah, I was just
really?
swinging. Yeah,
Dude,
I was just playing Nem Crit.
Yeah. You get those big numbers, and you're like, okay, this is good in my head, but it's bad.
Or you just play Scylla, you crush somebody for like 2K Lake.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So how do you think that you really progressed and got better at Smite? You know, you said that you were grinding a lot of Conquest. So what do you think it was, like the consistent grinding, or was there some sort of like secret ingredient to the Venenu formula that you had?
Honestly, it was just I was a big like watcher. Like I learned from people that I watched, so I loved watching like at the time I was watching MLC Stealth to learn how to mid, but I started in solo. I bounced from solo ADC or solo jungle ADC and then into mid. So I would like watch all the pro players at the time and see what they were doing and kind of like implement that into my own play. And then towards like I'd say season 3, I ended up ADCing, but I played mid before then, so I kind of like it was okay that I ended up swapping. But yeah, I played season 3 ADC, and then I swapped off, went on Oxygen Supremacy, and then played mid a bunch, and was just hard grinding that. And like for me, I can implement play from what I see, and then like, oh, like this person's doing this better, and I'm not doing this, so I just implement that in. And so at the time, I would literally load into Smite. I wouldn't even play, and I would spectate Yemen, and I would sit there for like 2 to 3 hours while this guy's just playing like ranked, or if he's just playing whatever, I would just spectate him and see what he's doing better than what I'm doing at the time, and then just start implementing that into my own play. And then also playing competitive on the side with Oxygen Supremacy, which was Challengers Cup at the time, and then that kind of got my name out there, and then that allowed me to kind of get bigger and see like everyone to see how I am as a player and stuff like that. So
yeah, dude, I respect that. Like he probably just didn't stream, so you're like, all right, let me just go in and spectate him. Yeah. Why else would I spectate him? But no, that's cool. So like you guys hear that? Like someone's not streaming, your favorite pro player, go in and spectate him. There you go. That's awesome though. Like damn. So would you say it was mostly a lot more, I guess, watch time than like playing time when it came to like you really progressing?
I would say maybe I did maybe like 20% of watch time and then like 80% just implementation and making sure that my play was good. But I will say I was playing like Smite all the time to get better. I mean, like I know people say like you have to like to be like a pro player at the game and stuff, like you have to put in like 12 to 15 hours or whatever. But that is kind of true. Like if you're trying to like break into a scene, you have to put in that time that nobody else is putting in, because at the end of the day, when you're like a top end player, it's super hard to be at the top end and then putting in those 12 hours, because when you're at the top end, you're scrimming other people that are at the top end. So that's your best form of practice. And then there is the thing of when you play ranked and you get the ranked habits, it's hard to kind of separate those two. So, you know, you have to find like that balance and getting the correct thing going, you know, because there is a thing of like, okay, I'm doing this in ranked and this is really good. I'm playing 8 hours a day of straight ranked. And I'm like, okay, this is feeling good. And then you play it in competitive and you're like, yeah, well, this is awful. Like it's a completely different thing. Right. So just like managing your time correctly. Like you don't want to just like, when I say like 12 to 15 hours, it's not just like 12 to 15 hours straight. Like break it up, have like little breaks in between so you can kind of reset, like, you know, play 3 hours at a time, take a 30-minute break, an hour break, you're gonna go do something else and then go right back into it, play again, and you know, that type of thing. It's just like all time management. But yeah, I'd say probably like 80-20 overall, like watch versus implementation and getting better.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Was there a specific bad habit that you had in rank that carried over to comp at all when you were first starting out?
Yeah, when I started playing, I just didn't think like a lot of the stuff that you get away with in ranked, like you just don't like get punished for it. So like if you play like hyper aggressive and then you're like doing this hyper aggressive thing, like people like it's communicated, right? So you're gonna get ganked. So like if you're playing a tower line and you're just like holding it there, like in ranked, you're not gonna get ganked and you're not gonna die, right? But in in competitive, I'm sitting at tower line and then I just get ganked randomly and there's 3 people there and I'm dead. I'm just like, okay, like, all right, here we go. Like I remember my tryout for eUnited. I played Kronos mid. Nobody was playing Kronos mid because it was just a good comfort rank pick. And I was like 0-6. I went over to Salt Machine or Benji's lane, and then ganked him, missed literally everything, and then died. And I was like, all right, it's chalked. I'm not getting this. So yeah, that was definitely a habit of just like running it and being like, yeah, I'm fine. There's no way they're killing me here.
Wait, how did you end up getting on that team?
Yeah, so it was actually between the best and I at the time because I was coming off of the Oxygen Supremacy from the Challenger Cup. And yeah, we both tried out. I was friends with Chaos and Scream and Panda at the time. And Chaos was kind of vouching for me as like a friend. He was just vouching for me to help me out on getting into the scene and everything. And then there was the best as well. And I think at the time he was coming from Eager, maybe. I don't know if that was season 3 or 4. I can't remember what team best was on, but it was between him and I. And yeah, I don't even remember what it was that got me the spot over him. Maybe it's just like more potential because he's been in the league for a while where there's like potential for me to work on. But yeah, I don't know. I got joined that team and I was, that was definitely a good prime me at that time for sure.
Did you get like another tryout after that Kronos one?
Yeah, we played 3 games, I think. I think we played 3. I played Scylla. Scylla I did good on. The Kronos one was, yeah, that was a rough one. And then there was one other character I played. I think it was maybe Raijin. Yeah, Raijin was the comfort pick.
Let's go ahead and talk about this 2018 run. Hopefully it's going to bring back a lot of really good memories.
Yeah.
So just to set the stage a little bit, this was season 4 and you're on eUnited. Mm-hmm. How did your regular season go? Was it more of a tough one or were you guys like really running through the competition?
Yeah, so the whole 2018, or I guess it was 2017 because the following year ended up being 2018 when we won. But for the 2017 season in Spring Split, I wasn't on a competitive team. I was on CC, which was Oxygen Supremacy at the time. And the first one on that team specifically, we won everything. It wasn't even close. And funny enough, we were scrimming it was eUnited at the time. That we were scrimming. That was like our scrim partners on Oxygen Supremacy. And we did good into them a lot of the time. Like we very, very good team. And then we won everything in CC and then we didn't qualify that from that event into SPL because there was SPL qualifiers. If you were bottom 2, you had to fight for your spot. I think we were close. I think it was like 2-3, I think, against one of the teams, and we ended up losing and we didn't qualify. We decided to stick together going into the summer split. And then that one was it was called the Oxygen Supremacy run. It was like the most like it's probably still like for the people that know, it's the most well-known like Challenger Cup run at the time. We went into it. We had to, so I don't know the wording for the type of it is, but basically we had to qualify for this LAN event. You had to fight every single SPL team that wasn't the top 2 in a row. This was very poorly done now looking back at it. So we started this day. It was CC versus CC. So we beat them. And then we beat 8th place SPL team. Then we beat Noble, which was 7th place SPL team. Then we faced another SPL team. We beat them. And then it was one more that we faced. This was all straight. We weren't allowed any bathroom breaks at the time. This is horribly done. This is like hour 8 or 9 in a row of straight competitive games, by the way. Straight competitive 9 hours in a row. And, oh man, it was Walrus's team. I don't remember the exact team name, but we had to beat them. And that was the end of our day. And then the next day we would start up again. But like everyone's just exhausted. It's like 9 hours straight of hard competitive play at a LAN event. Like this was very like taxing. And then we ended up going 1-1 because it was a best of 3. So we ended up going 1-1 to them. And then at the last game, as hour 9 or whatever, and then Skillydon, who works on Smite now, was playing Odin at the time. And it's just like all the comms were like low. It's just like everyone's just exhausted. And then he just Odin 1-2 jumps into 4 people, insta dies. And then instead of like the usual like get the fuck out type of thing, we instead just funneled one by one, little treadmill going in, and then we all just died, and then it was chalked. We did not have the energy to get back into it. And then we ended up losing 2-1 there. And then we were out of the run, even though we were kind of cooking everybody, but yeah. So that was that. Oh, and I'll talk about the eUnited, and then following that, that was fall split. So this section was it goes spring, summer, fall. That's how they laid it out for SPL at the time. Fall split, I ended up getting picked up by eUnited. Again, it was Best versus I on tryouts. Ended up joining eUnited. I'm friends with PandaCat and Scream at the time, or Verizial. I don't even remember which name he had. He changed his name 400 times. And then, our run there, I don't think we lost. I'm pretty sure we were lossless there.
Wow,
I can't remember. We either had 1 loss or we were lossless. I don't remember at the time. And then the toughest team was LG at the time, which is the team with Baskin, Barra, Jeff, all them. And that was our scrim partners. Back then, you would have strict scrim partners, and you would just scrim the same team over and over and over again. And then that kind of made it so the top teams always stayed top, and the bottom teams would not catch up. That was kind of how it was.
Oh.
And it was because of a thing of like, why would I help this bottom team get better and not just have the best practice that I can possibly have? That was kind of the theory of it. So yeah, we hard scrim partnered them. So that was always going to be our toughest opponent at the regional qualifiers. We were both top 2, so we qualified anyway. So it was us versus LG at the time, and because then depending if you got first or second is where you got placed the start of the bracket for Worlds, and Europe already had theirs done. So we knew who we wanted to face and who we didn't want to face. So Energy, or I think it was Energy. Yeah, I think it was Energy at the time, was first in theirs. And then, so if you were second, you would face them in semis. And it was like almost guaranteed semis because you had all the different regions. So you would face the other regions that just weren't caught up. So it was like guaranteed semifinals, basically. We were like, we really want first because we don't want to face Energy. That was like the toughest opponent, and we just didn't want to face them. So we like super try-harded. I mean, obviously the other LG was try-hard. I think we ended up winning, I think it was 3-2, I think, or 3-1 versus the LG guys. But we were like super try-harded because we just knew it was going to be super easy to get to finals if we just did our game plan and then just stuck to it. And then, we ended up going to 3-1 versus them by 3-2, whatever it was. And then we ended up getting first in NA for Worlds qualifiers. And so now we're at Worlds, and then it was like, you just have the bracket. I think we faced the Brazilian team. I think it was like Cliz and all of them. Faced them, beat them. Then we faced, I don't even remember. Oh, no, we faced Obey, who was a European at the time. Second place Europe. We faced Obey. We 3-0'd them. I believe it was a 3-0, yeah. Because, we were going lossless, and then we ended up facing a Wolfie, I think it was Rival at the time, who ended up beating Energy, so they're in finals as well. And then it was 3-1, I think. Yeah, 3-1 versus Rival. So we were going lossless the whole way. And in the finals, it was just it was really clean games from us. We had one mess up when I was on Morrigan. We were diving a tier 1 tower in dual lane, and our target calling was kind of off, and then I ended up going on the wrong person and transformed, I think it was into Fenrir, and I just missed literally everything, and it was shocked, and I was like, okay, we're doomed. And it kind of just snowballed from there. It was kind of like a snowballing meta. This is with Portal Demon when you could portal to Fire Giant.
Yeah.
And Fire Giant was actually tanky. It was actually a thing, so it was harder to just do. But But that game was back and forth, even though we ended up losing. So we're like, all right, we just got to stick to our game plan, lock in, make sure we're confident here, and yeah, we just did our thing for the rest of the games. No one was playing Discordia at the time. That was the newest character, and I locked that in, and I was just owning everybody. I mean, nobody even knew what the character did. It was a brand new character. Like, if people didn't practice it, people thought it was bad, and I was like, no, man, like, this character is OP, like, fundamentally. And because it was a new ability, new type of ability. It was Discordia 2, the taunt together. So people would stack, like, it was common for people to stack. So you had to play around it. No one was playing around it. I would just get twos all the time. I get 3 people in my twos or 2 people in my twos, and I'm just cooking everybody.
And it wasn't getting banned?
No. Yeah, it was permaban Morgan. Morgan was always banned versus me. That character, I was never getting that character.
You must have felt like the shit. It's like, yeah, they're just gonna ban Morgan, guys.
Yeah, we knew going into it, Morgan was always going to be banned no matter what. So we never had a draft even with it, even if they left it open. Yeah, we never did. And then what's it called? We had different like game plans. So in the finals, I played one Mori game, and then it ended up getting banned. And then it was Discordia, Ra, Raijin was the characters I played. And then in it's so goofy to think about, but when I played Ra in the finals, the game plan for the Ra was literally I would go full healing build. I wouldn't even try to hit people. Like, that wasn't the point of the Ra. The Ra was just to sit there and heal, and it would just be a heal comp. You would stack and heal. That's it. That's all you would be doing with the Ra. So I think I ulted like twice that game. But the whole point, I had like 25k healing, 27k healing. This was when Rada Sleepiest was like sneak overpowered. So I just went full heal build, and we would just group up as 5 and push towers and just heal. And and it was so OP because no one knew how to deal with it, because it's not a thing that people face. And I bought Do More at the time, which was the one where you died, you lost half your stacks, which is half your power gone. I just went Do More into Rod of Asclepius. That was my build, or Boots into Rod of Asclepius, because Boots was in the game. And it was just so goofy. We would just stack up one side of the map, drop heal, push tower, to go keep sieging, throw out a Raw snipe to create some room created if it hit or not, stack up again, Raw heal, and we just get all the towers and just keep pushing through. And it was so goofy. We practiced the comp like one time, and we were like, you know what, let's just fucking rip it. You know, what could go wrong? Like, we were so confident at the time that we weren't going to make any mistakes.
So you were like Rod of Asclepius Raw, and then like, were you just a whole bunch of tank after that?
No, yeah, I was just like, because Raw heal scaled then, so you would have to go power items. But Rada Tahuti back then was very overpowered. That was the one where, like, once you bought it, you just 150 power plus 25%. So it was just like the biggest power spike item ever. And it was 3k gold though. So, you know, but yeah, no, we got that. And then just like, yep, this is over. Like, you can't out heal this, because the heal also scaled with that 25% insta purchase of the magical power, which then got increased by Rod of Asclepius. Like, that was the order. So it was just like, you're just sitting there like healing for like 180 a tick, and you're just like, okay, like, I guess.
Dude, I would have hated playing against you.
Yeah. No, I was the cringy player, that's for sure. But I was also open to play whatever, so it didn't really matter to me. So,
do you like to have your games, your hardest matches towards the beginning of a tournament bracket or towards the end? Like, would you rather get them out of the way? It's like, okay, if we beat these guys, we know that it's just smooth sailing from here.
I'd say always, whenever it's a best of 5, I would want my hardest matches. That's why I always at Worlds and stuff like that. Like, I personally hate almost like ever since they stopped doing best of 5s at Worlds, I like kind of hate, like, at the very beginning and going on, I always have hated the brackets, or like not double elim or anything like that. Because back, I guess before or at the end of season 4, this was the last one they did of double elim and things being best of 5. But season 4 and beforehand, everything was double elim and all best of 5s. So it was super long games. Like, it was like, if you won, you were the true winner. You got like all the chances and everything like that. And for it being double elim, there was no like advantage. It was just 0-0 at the start. It didn't really matter, which was fine. I like that personally. I don't care about the advantage. Yeah, I for me, it's the most competitive thing you're gonna get. There's no reason to give a game. Like, it's just a MOBA. There's no way that you should get a game in a MOBA. It's just not like, it's not comparable to a shooter or whatever. There's so much that goes into a MOBA. So yeah. And that's like been my preference. I think that's like the most competitive bracket. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the way I personally like to think about it is that, you know, if you're cruising through winner's bracket and then you knock somebody out and then they get to sort of face you later on in the grand finals, they kind of had that like cushion. But if you go to the grand finals and you don't get like anything extra, then it's like you never had a cushion in the first place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I see both points, to be honest with you. I just think personally, it's just the most competitive for finals. And at the end of the day, when you are playing at the, like, sure, you're playing in for the money as, like, of course, like, you're playing in for the money. And then, but, like, it's also a show. Like, it's kind of weird, like, if I just, because, like, if we did that and we had the 1-up advantage, it would have been a 2-0 finals and that's it. It would have been, like, an hour long and then it's done. Because the games then were not, like, you know, they're not barn burners of, like, 56 minutes. They're, like, 20 to 30 minutes and it's over. Like, that was the average game time back then. So
yeah, that's true. No, that makes a lot of sense. Did you guys do any specific like preparing for Worlds at all? Like maybe like increased VOD watch time or anything like that?
So we did not do any VOD review. Our team did not do any VOD review. Our team environment was not the healthiest of environments. That's for sure.
Wait. Talk to me about this.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, did you do an interview with Mike?
Yeah,
you did, right? Yeah. So the team environment, I mean, for me, I was younger at the time, and obviously I'm new, or I'm a rookie in the competitive scene, right? So like, I was just very I was very neutral. I don't really I'll do whatever in a team environment. It's not like I'll play the supporty style mid, I'll play the carry style mid. It's not like a big thing for me. We had a lot of big opinions on the team, and there would be scenarios where just like we're playing, and then one of the scrims, this is when Salt Machine was in college, or Benji, I don't remember what his name was at the time, but he was in college, and his window was right next to the band. So he would just have the band playing in the background, like going on all night during our scrims. And then like, it was so funny. It was like all of our scrims were just like, can we go on this guy, or we're going on this guy? And then it would just like boom, 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 boom. It's so funny. And then sometimes we would just be like scrimming and we'll just be going. And then Salt Machine's just like, oh shit, I have a doctor's appointment. And then he just leave the scrim, leave the team speak at the time, and leave and go do something else, because he's just said, let's fuck that shit, I'm out of here. And then obviously there would be like, you know, Scream has a very big, you know, big brain, and you know, and then him and like Salt would clash, or him and Panda would clash, and then it would just be going on and on and on, and then it would just be like, okay, I'm deafening for the rest of the scrim, and then people would deafen, like that would be, it was chalked, and I'm just like sitting there, I'm just like, yeah, I'm checking in, you know, I'm having fun, that's all that matters for me. You know, I'm not here, like, I'm just trying to make whatever is easiest go. So
yeah, it's like the kind of team that like the second the scrim's over, everybody just left the team speak.
Yeah.
Dude, well, what's funny too is I feel like those kinds of teams kind of end up doing the best to a certain extent. Like at least the ones that I've been on. Like I've been on some, you know, pretty crazy teams, not crazy teams, and like, yes, if you're preparing and all that kind of stuff, it's really good. But some of the teams where I'm just like, I'm not going to go anywhere with this team, I end up just doing the best. It just doesn't make any sense.
I think it's just because it as bad as it bad as it is, like if you were to do that in a working environment, I mean, you would be fired, right? But like for that stuff, like it's also like you're also airing everything out and making it like the best it can possibly be, type of thing. Like you're not letting it or holding in anything. Like be like, okay, Ven, you're playing like dog shit. Like, okay, like I know now, like I gotta step it up, type of thing, or like, oh, you can do this better, and it's not like holding anything back. Where like I've been on teams where people just don't say anything and then nothing gets better, right? So it goes both ends. Like that's a weakness for me. I don't say when I see something like somebody playing bad or doing something bad. I just don't say it. But I definitely could do that better, like on team environments and stuff. But
yeah, no, I feel like most people are like that. Shoot, I'm like that too. Or you just try to like sugarcoat it instead of just saying like, yo, you suck. My I tell people this, but the R6 team I was on, that we went to Worlds with. Yeah. Dude, we were savages to each other. Like, I mean, I was pretty chill, all right, but like everybody else, like if you screwed up, yo, you suck. Like it was just straight up like, yeah, I know, man, I know, that kind of stuff. So like sometimes that just makes for the best, not the best team environment, but it makes for like the best team competitively speaking.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what was it like to you winning a world championship? Like what was the feeling going through that when you guys ended up winning in 2018?
Yes, so back then it wasn't like esports wasn't like huge or well known like it is now. So like when I was sitting there in my room playing for like 12 hours a day, like all the time, and then I would just get back and then I'd be playing, you know, I come home from school, get out of high school, and I'm coming right into playing and everything like that. Like it was kind of a thing of like I was kind of showing and proving to my parents that this is like an actual thing, and like it's not just like I'm just sitting here doing absolutely nothing and like flying around the world to just do random things. Like it was actually like a thing of like I'm hard grinding this. Like this is actually like I can bring in money, and this is like an actual real thing. And it was kind of just a thing of like a proving point for me. Like, oh, I can actually like do this, and like this is actually like meaningful. It's not just like fake and made up and everything. So yeah, it was kind of like a prove it thing, and then also like for me knowing that my time that I put into the game like paid off basically as well.
Yeah. So do you think the main drive was proving to yourself, or just mostly proving to your parents that, you know, it was a big thing? Like which?
Probably both. Honestly, I mean, I'm not like for me, like I didn't even like care about the prize pool at all.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The only thing that I wanted was just like a trophy or something, just something that I could always like keep in mind. Like, oh, I actually did this type of thing. So I was like, I that was like the only drive that I had was like, I want a trophy. Like, I don't care about the money. Like, I just want the trophy. Like when we won and everything, like there's the stuff behind the scenes they have to deal with like orgs and blah, 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 like that whole shit show. But yeah, no, that's the only drive that I played for is just getting a trophy and everything like that. Sadly, the only trophy that was given was the MVP trophy, so not everybody got a trophy, but luckily I got it, so I got a trophy, which is what I wanted. So
no, I do want to talk to you about that, but one thing I was going to say was like, yeah, you know, it's, first of all, I respect that a lot. I think a lot of people would say that, you know, they're kind of doing it for the money. I mean, I feel like when you do compete at a level like that, not just in esports, but traditional sports too, it's more than just the money. Obviously, you know, you want to make a living, you want to make the money. But there's an extra drive there as well. But it's kind of weird because I feel like, you know, I'm the same way, and I feel like a lot of other competitors are the same way, where, especially for something like gaming that's not as widely known to the boomer population. It's like the only way to sort of measure success is through monetary value. So it's like when you know, tell your parents you're doing something, or you want to do it as a profession, it's like the only way that you can show them it makes sense is if you're making a lot of money. You know, I feel like that's the big question. So no, I respect that a lot, though, that you know, you were kind of doing it for the trophy and all that kind of stuff, money aside. Going to the MVP, what brought you more joy, winning the world championship or getting MVP at the world championship?
At the time I actually thought I was gonna go to Benji, because Benji had like a crazy, I mean, he was literally, he was owning everybody. But I guess it was between Benji and I, and then up on the stage, like, you know, we were just happy, we're holding up the hammers and everything like that. And then I think it was F Thought that gave it to me, or Aggro or something, and they looked at me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get it. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, no, it was awesome getting the MVP trophy, honestly. But I think for me, being able to like hold the hammer for the first time and like front of all of the fans and everything like that's probably the most important thing. And like obviously like do it with the team and stuff like that. Like I love those guys. Like it was like family for me. It was so fun to play, even though it was like not the best of team environments, just fun playing with everybody, and like everybody was so passionate and everything like that. And especially with like Benji's not a very like talkative person. Like he's very, very quiet. And then like at the event, like he was talking, and he was just like, it was a completely different him. It was so fun. Like it was just like every single time that we would load into a game, we would just like sit there and be like, yes, get it, because that was like a big thing back then. And then yeah, it was just like a fun thing, and it was just like everybody was super, super like confident that we were not going to lose. And it was just, yeah, I mean, doing it with the boys and like winning that, it was, I value that trophy that everybody could hold instead of mine. So
that's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I thought you were gonna say like After I heard that team environment stuff, I thought you were gonna be like, yeah, man, getting MVP and then looking those guys like
yeah,
straight in the eyes. That's awesome. Did you what's like your favorite part about going to an event? Is it competing, or is it kind of like meeting up with people and, you know, just having a good time with
yeah,
others?
I love obviously both are always great, but I do enjoy meeting up with like fans and everything. I think it's like a super enjoyable time. It's super like surreal. Like you just don't like it takes a little bit to adjust, where like if you're just like walking around, like people want to say like hello to you, it's just like not a normal thing that people do, right? So like once you like leave the world, it's kind of like a little bit of an adjustment of like, okay, like I have to reset into like reality. You know what I mean? But yeah, I always love meeting with fans. I think it's an enjoyable time. I always try to like talk with them and everything like that. So yeah, it's probably meeting with the fans.
Yeah, you just go back on the plane, you're just still thinking like I'm the shit, you know?
Yeah.
What would you say was your sort of best performing season? You know, obviously we just talked about 2018, you know, you getting MVP, so maybe it was that, but I feel like that was also more of a season where you got the most recognition, most likely. Do you personally think that was your best performing season, or was there another season that you competed in that you thought that you just played the absolute best that you ever have?
I think it was Splice season 6 is when I performed, I think, my best. So that year started with I was on SSG and we were like 0 and 12 with last place team. It wasn't even close. And then there was like some team things, like Jeff and I didn't really mesh at all, and we were just like, it was not the best like time to play or whatever, like most fun. And then the boys on Splice ended up reaching out. That was like Scream, Aurora, Cyclone, and Divios at the time. And they ended up reaching out, and then I was like, yeah, of course, I'll take it. It was kind of a thing of like, I didn't really want to leave Barra because Barra and I were close friends at the time, or we still are. But yeah, we just didn't want, like, I didn't want to leave him because it was like, you're on an 0 and 12 team, like, it's kind of miserable. And then, yeah, I was just like, Barra was just like, you should just take it. And then I was like, okay. And then I ended up taking the Splice. And then we also went undefeated in that. We went all the way undefeated, all the way through the split, and then into the next phase, or like the tournament at the end. We went into finals, and then we ended up losing in the finals. Like, I think we got 3-0'd or 3-1 or something versus what was the Renegades team.
Were you guys just not like prepared at all? What do you think happened there?
No, it was just like so we had Baskin at that time for Divios. And it was just like it was just kind of a thing of like if something went bad with Scream and Baskin, like they were just like beef back and forth.
Oh.
Something ended up going bad, and then like we lost one of the games there. But the Renegades team at the time, they were like super far ahead of the meta. Like we had our game plan of what we wanted to do and like how we wanted to play it. That was we were kind of playing a bunch of different things, but we were playing at that time a lot of Nuwa. And, you know, obviously the thing with Nuwa is she's slow, right? Like you can get blown out. We haven't faced anybody that has played like super aggressive early. So they just had a plan into it. We played the Nuwa 2 games in a row. But basically the plan, we would play Nuwa and Kumbhakarna together. And our whole entire game plan was get to the late game, and Aurora would go Blink and Girdle. And this is when Girdle was like, I think it was like 40% damage increase or something like that. And I would just get as many power items as possible and not even go pen. And so it was, I think I forget the order exactly. I think it was Blink, Girdle, and I'd have to be in the Girdle range. And he would Blink, Girdle, Kumba ult somebody instantly because you couldn't beads it at the time. Beads or Aegis, anything, like when it was right in front of you, wouldn't be able to do it. And so you would then Nuwa ult right before everything, and he would Girdle me before I would get up in the sky, so I'm already casting. So before I left the floor, he would Girdle, and then it would hit them, and it would one-shot them in the sky before they even could react. That was the whole entire game plan. That was only our game plan, and we just take out one person to fight. Yeah, that was it.
What were the damage numbers looking like on that? Like, do you remember?
So high. Oh, I don't even remember, but it could be like 1,600 in the sky, 1,800, and you just get one tap. Because Ratatouille was the below 50% thing, but you could get a lot of power. Like you would have like almost like 1.2k power at the time. And then when you would have Girdle, you would just one tap people. But yeah, that was the whole entire plan, is Kumba, Blink, Girdle with Nuwa, and you would just find a squishy. It was just one squishy. It did not matter who, jungle, ADC, or mid. and you just blink, knock them up, and kill them instantly in the sky. And that was it. That was the whole entire plan.
That was no, that's not right. So wait, what do you mean by you couldn't beads right away? Like what was going on there?
So like if you got close range Kumud, like you couldn't beads it. It would like it just like didn't work. It's the same thing with like King Arthurol because they're the same thing. They're coded the same. You just can't beads it on a certain distance. It wouldn't let you. But now I think while like you can like beads while abilities or whatever, I think they kind of like fix the timing because you can beads a close range King Arthurol now. But you could not do that before. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Tried and tested. We actually learned that. Yeah. It took a bit, but we learned it. That was like the most OP thing I've ever played. It was actually insane. Yeah. It was so fun.
And I was actually going to say, like, so why do you think you performed the best during season 6?
It's probably like just like team environment wise. I mean, I loved all the guys. I loved playing with Cyclone, Aurora, and Scream again. Like that was just like it's just a very enjoyable team environment and had a lot of fun. And then like Cyclone and I would go get like ramen together because we were both in Georgia. So we just like hang out and do a bunch of different things like outside the game. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. It was just like a healthy and team environment. The guys trusted me to do whatever, and like play whatever. This was when Boots was still in the game. And then going into like worlds and stuff like that. Like this was a very crazy start that I ended up coming up with in scrims and tried and tested. And I was like, this is actually OP. And I was always the person, just to put this clear out here, I was always the person that abused Boots the most. I was the biggest Boots abuser in the game, and it wasn't even close. Outside of the people in season 2 that abused the gold Boots, that's different though. That's cringe.
The gold Boots.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Man.
So every single time you would hit somebody, you would get 30 gold. Like every 8 seconds or 7 seconds. It was so broke. It was media Boots. It was so broken. It was everybody would go to them and just run around and hit people for 30 gold. Oh,
except for you, right? Except for you.
No, yeah. But yeah, so in season 4, I did it. I did Boots Rush. So 15. So they nerfed this. So at the start, it was 1500 for CDR Boots. I would rush CDR Boots first item every single game. They nerfed it to 1550, and then pen Boots at the time were going to be 1600. So I would sit in base until 1550, get full boots, and leave base, and then I would just kill camps on the way. That was what I did in like season 4. And then going into season 6, boots were still in the game, but it was like more expensive, or it wasn't as worth to just straight up rush boots, but they were still 1550 and 1600. And so I started Boots 2, which was I don't even remember what it was at the time. But this was like it was 1450 total for the whole entire buy of this, but it was Boots 2, and then I would go Lost Artifact 1. So you'd have I think it was like 40 power and 5 MP5. That was your thing, and then you had movement speed. And then you would get 1 multi potion. So that's your whole entire time, and you had to wait till 700 gold. That was the goal. So that was the start, and this was when it was very like competitive in mid. Like this is when like people were fighting. There was 2 or 3 people at the time. And so that's the Boots thing that I created. And people went all the way into worlds with this. But you would go it, and then you would have 50, you would have a multi potion to use as your sustain for your mana and everything. And I was doing this with Merlin and everything like that when you would just drain mana. And you sit there and you would wait for 700 gold. You would back buy CDR Boots, and your game set from there because it was 250 mana, 10% CDR, movement speed, and 40 power. That was Boots at the time. I mean, it was overpowered. Like, and then you would just go from there with your build, and then it was just ridiculous. Like, and it went all the way through 2 worlds. We ended up facing SK. I think it was in semis. And that was like the Paul team Zap, then winning Zap Scary and all of them. But yeah, we ended up doing that, and then we lost to them, and then they continued that on, and then both teams did it in finals of the Boots 2 Lost Artifact, and it was just I'm the biggest Boots abuser, and then they took it out. So.
It's like I don't want to play this game anymore. Dude, how'd that feel? Just like creating a meta, like you just literally created a meta that everybody else started using.
No, it's fun. It's a super enjoyable thing. That's the biggest thing I like about MOBAs is like when you can actually create a meta, and like that's always been like I like that stuff, so I try to do it like when I was playing throughout my career. Like in season 4, for example, there was nobody going Doom Orb. I mean, the item is like it's a risky item, but it was at the time 140 power, which is a lot when you got a full stacked. It was really easy to get it full stacked, but again, if you died, you lose half your power. So I would go that every single game, no matter what. And yeah, and then no one else had built it through the whole entire tournament. Everyone was building like Warlock Sash, and I was like, this makes no sense. Like, this item is so broken. And then compared, or like with that item, I would also go into Ratatouille, which is another 140. I would rush Ratatouille after boots, so it would be like third item. I have a 3,000 gold item, but at the time, Doomor was 1,700 gold or like 1,650 or something. It was really cheap. So it was just like super OP, like the build, and no one was doing it. And then towards the end of the finals, Wolfie ended up going like Ratatouille third or fourth or whatever. And like, it was like that thing that was like the meta started creating of going that item because it was just so overpowered. Like, no one was building it. It was like the most broken item ever. And then, yeah, I just kind of continued that little thing. And it's just so fun when you get to see like a meta get created that you did, you know, It's super fun.
Or you could be like me and just kind of like be fake about it too. Like, I was on aggro this, but I believe it was season 7 when Paul won Worlds with Scylla and everybody started playing Scylla. I told aggro, I was like, listen, man, I was playing Scylla like a month before Paul, and I was the guy being like, listen, I was playing Scylla like way before Paul started playing Scylla. All right, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. No, I respect that.
So like, how do you come up with this stuff too? Like, how do you come up with like this Doom Orb start, or like this boot start that you were doing?
Mm-hmm. Just try random things. Like sometimes you couldn't really do it in ranked. Ranked was really hard at the time to do like the boots 2 and Lost Artifact start, because everybody wanted to just fight in mid for the like early game. That's just kind of how it went. And I was just like, yeah, this is like awful in ranked. Like, it's actually awful because you just die. Like, you can't sustain, so you just die. And then I was like, there might be something, but it's just kind of like trying, testing a lot of ranked games and seeing how it goes, and go into scrims and be like, okay, I'm just going to try this. Hopefully it works, and try that. And then it ends up working, and like, okay, here we go. It's just like the same thing with, I don't remember if it was last year when Twig was playing a lot of Vamana Jungle, or if it was the year before on Kings. I think it might have been last year.
I think it was it season? Oh, maybe. What was it the season they won? Because they won season 10, or no, season 9, I think.
Yeah, they won season 9. No, yeah, it was season 10 because yeah, it was season 10 because they didn't have genetics at the time.
Okay, yeah, they had Quig. Okay.
Yeah, and then we were running like the Zeus thing in season 10. Nobody was running Zeus. And again, it was just Ratatouille rush. Like, I would go Doom Orb at that time, like, or it was, you know, the Doom Orb that we know. And then it was Ratatouille and those first 2 items. And then the Vamana Jungle would just like try to beat you, and then you just one tap them. And then it was the things that no one faced. And at the time, you know, you could look at like VODs and everything. And then when I played Zeus and we were early valuing Zeus, like, I would go back and watch everybody's VODs and see what people were saying, like Twig and Mike, and hear what people are saying. And then it was just like, oh, like, this just can't be good. Like, he's just gonna get one tapped and stuff like that. And it's just like, okay, so like, these people don't value it. So I can just pick it and free up room for the rest of the team, or pick it later because they just don't value it. And then I made the Zeus thing, and then everybody started banning Zeus because it's just like the character was actually doing like 1,300 damage on triple detonate, or like when it was full detonate charges, you would just one tap people. There's a I'm sure the clip is still there, but I Zeus ult, and we're sieging Phoenix versus Tings, and he's Baba Yaga and I'm Zeus. We're sieging Phoenix. I drop my ult, and I drop my ult to my 2, and then I 3 him, and he dies in the sky on his Baba 3. He literally insta died. It was instant. It was like crazy. And like, our comms were like, whoa, what just happened to that guy? But it's just like things like that. People are really like, in Smite, people are very like linear on how they look at the game. But like, I'm very like, I don't care about my KDA. I literally have never cared. Like, I just place things that do different things. Like Zeus, for example, like the character's gonna die a bunch, but he's going to get you infinite pressure. Like, he's guaranteed to get you pressure levels 1 through 10. Just how the character is. And then late game, it's on everybody else to keep you alive, type of thing. So there's different ways to look at the game, but people are very like, sometimes people are very linear, and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just fun. I don't know. I just come up with random things. I just like thinking.
And it works.
Yeah. Sometimes just from other rank players as well. Like, sometimes I see things that people are running. I'm like, oh, that can actually be pretty good. Like, I see potential there and competitive and everything. And then, yeah.
Yeah, how do you feel when people are like, oh, Ven's inting, or, you know, whenever like you just go back and look at a Twitch chat You know, if you have
Yeah.
like 7 deaths in a game, you're just like, screw those guys.
Nah, I don't. That stuff doesn't really affect me. I don't care. I'm playing a different version than other people expect. Like everybody in like fans and stuff like always value KDA. It's like every game you watch like CS, and in CS the game like has nothing to do with your KDA, and then like people were like, yo, this guy's like. He's like entry fragger and he's like 3 and 24 and it's just like, yo, like that's not the guy's job. Team is winning like they're 14-2 and the guy's just dead every round. And it's like, yeah, that's not like, you know, it's just different, you know. I'm sure you got it with R6 as well. Like people have different roles and stuff and people are just gonna die. Like that's just like how the game goes, you know.
So, yeah, 100%. I was like more of a support player too in R6, like, especially on defense. So it's like, you know, if my roamers weren't doing the job, I'm the last resort. All the pressure's on me, you know, 1v3. So you're obviously not just a competitor, but you're also a content creator. Really good one at that. How did you, or rather, when did you get into content creation? And I guess how did you get into content creation as well?
I kind of was not really doing it too much in like the start of after winning Worlds. Technically speaking, once I won Worlds, I should have just streamed a bunch. Yeah. And then my stream would have been huge and everything like that. But at the time, it just wasn't an interest for me. So I kind of just was vibing, having a good time. And then I think it was season 5, maybe season 6, one of the two. It was when we first had to move to Georgia. And then like, obviously like, you're living alone in an apartment and my apartment was not cheap. And then it was like, okay, you got to make more money type of thing. And then I was just like, okay, time to do content creation. And then I just did a bunch of content. It was fun. Kind of bouncing around doing different things and just having a good time, just playing Smite. Still love the game and everything. So it was super easy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I was just like, I might as well have fun. And like, if I'm going to be playing the game off stream anyway, I might as well stream the game type of thing, you know, like why not?
Definitely. Was it just streaming at first, or did you also like get into ripping like YouTube, TikTok clips, and all those other sites?
So at the time I wasn't doing any YouTube. It actually took me until season 7 or 8 before I started doing any YouTube. I just didn't really see a value in it. I was just like, I'm just not going to make any money on it. And also like doing thumbnails and everything was probably going to be a pain and all that stuff. And then I forget who, I think it might have been Soj King or somebody else might have like came to me and was just like, yeah, you just should do YouTube and just upload like VODs of games and stuff like that. It's free money. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And then I just ended up doing it. And I, at the car, like right now I have, Sam Marbach doing my YouTube. He does my YouTube stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it creates a job for somebody else as well, while also giving me income. So it's, why not just do it for fun? And it's, yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's a win-win. Shout out to Sam, by the way. You're the goat, Sam.
My goat. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of pros don't really become content creators. Some do, but not that many. Do you think it was easier for you to become a content creator because you were a pro? Like, do you think that gave you a massive advantage? Like, do you just start getting viewership immediately?
Not immediately, no.
Really? Oh,
it did actually take me a while to get viewership. That was when Twitch was very like, it wasn't like the Smite category was very contested, so you kind of have to make your own like time slot and everything like that. But this was when like you'd have Barracuda, Jeff Hinla, Zapman, like all the big names and everything streaming at the same time. So like this time slot of like 1 p.m. to all the way like in con and weekend we're streaming, but it was like 1 p.m. till I think it was like 10 p.m. or midnight or whatever. Like that was all taken. Like that time slot was super hard to get viewership. I mean, it's probably still hard now, but like that for now, like, or then like that was whole taken. So I would stream, I think it was till like, it was like 10 a.m. all the way until like midnight. I would do streams. I was doing long streams when I first started.
Wow.
Yeah. And
10 a.m.
Yeah, it's just to get your name out there and like show that you like you're covering a broad span of like things, so you get viewers from like all different places and stuff like that, and then you kind of just get your traction in there and stuff like that. But yeah, no, they're long hours.
That's interesting. I would have thought that, especially after winning Worlds, I would have thought that, you know, more people have been like, I want to see Venenu just, you know, kind of grind. I mean, did you get like hosts and stuff like that too from,
Yeah.
from your teammates and all that?
They didn't really stream either. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay.
yeah. But yeah, no, if I did, like, if I was smart about it and I streamed right after I won Worlds, then it would have just been free viewership. But I did not just stream right after. It took like 2 years or a year. Like I would stream like off and on, but it was just never an interest, and it was also just the thing of like, for me, like, or just like how I view it, I do think you end up playing worse and getting worse as you stream, because you are, at the end of the day, you are trying to entertain people. Like you're not just like sitting there, no chat on, stream on, everything else is closed type of thing. Like you're entertaining at the end of the day and you're interacting. Like as much as you're just like hard focused on one thing, like you do have to like talk to your chat, or people just not going to be there. Like, you know, it's just watching somebody just slam their dent into the game and just not talking or whatever. Like what used to happen, because we had contracts for some fucking reason that you had to do 100 hours a month as a per player. Oh, that was awful. And like they had to create content for 100 hours a month, and it was just so bad. And then like people would just turn on their stream and they would just turn it on and blast music and nobody would talk. Or what then ended up starting to happen is that they were, at the time, is there still reruns? I don't even know.
No, I think there are. I'm pretty sure you can go into OBS and set up a rerun if you want to.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So back then people would stream like 2 hours and then just rerun that VOD every single day. And that's it. That was so, because no one wanted to do it. Like nobody wanted to do it. Like that wasn't their job. That was the problem. It's like you're contracted, but that's not your job to make content. Like that's just not it.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting take. I can actually definitely see that. You know, it's like I often tell people when I'm streaming, I mean, I'm just saying this sometimes to make myself look better, but you know, I'm only playing ranked at like 35%, you know, because like you're just
true.
Yeah, you're just talking to chat and like you're, you know, hopefully having a good time, but like you said, maybe you're getting worse. You're just running into bad habits and then you bring those to comp. And it's like, you know, what are you doing, Ven? I'm streaming too much. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. It is definitely a thing for sure.
How hard was it for you to balance content creation while competing?
I think on like, for me, it was really easy on SSG because we were losing every game anyway. So I was like, I don't really care. And then I just slammed streams all the time and just had fun with it. And then literally that same year that I left SSG to join Splice, from streaming every single day from like to 12 to 14 hours, I completely cut it off and stream like maybe like once a week because I just hard focused on competitive only. But it's always been hard to find that balance. Even in my last year on season 10, it was still difficult. Like I would stream in the morning. I think I would stream for like because we started streams like 1 p.m. So I think I started at like 6 or 8 and I did for like 4 hours and then went into scrims, and then I would go to the gym and then come back, and then I was just like, I don't want to stream again type of thing. And then like post game day, when it was technically the best time to stream, because pro players would get hosted before everybody complained, and then we lost that. And then but yeah, we would get hosted from the Smite game stream, and at the time, you know, Smite game stream had like, you know, 8 to 10k 12k viewers, so they would just host a random player that played that day. So you would get home as fast as possible, start streaming, and then you would have a chance of getting hosted. So like, but like after a game day for me, I was just like, I don't really want to stream. Like I just want to chill. Like it was a long, you know, it's people don't realize, but like when you sit there and you play like that best of 5, it's a long day. Like you're sitting there for 3, it could be anywhere from 2 to 5 hours is your set length, and you're just in a box and you're just like locked in. It's a lot of energy that you have to use. People just don't realize it, but it is exhausting. And then like if I went home and go play ranked, it would be brain off. I'm just den slamming. I'm not gaining anything from it, you know? So
yeah.
No,
yeah. I feel like a lot of people don't realize, like, first of all, how much time you have to put in as a content creator alone. And then if you try to balance out with competitive, I mean, you just have no time to do anything else. I'm surprised you found time to go to the gym, to be honest, between those two things. But if you're like scrimming for a few hours, you know, maybe you're on a team that actually does VOD reviewing, you know, for another hour or two. And then like you're streaming for like a solid 8 hours. That's a really long day. And then on top of that, maybe like you're, you know, trying to boost up your YouTube. So then you're putting a couple more hours into YouTube. I mean, dude, like, it's like, how do you find time to do all that, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult for sure.
And it's exhausting. Like you said, I mean, I just did a 10-hour stream 2 days ago, you know, playing the tournament. Three
Mhm.
best of threes takes 10 hours for some reason, but
Yep.
you know, it's all good. And after that stream, dude, I was just so dead. I think I went to
Yep.
bed at like 9 a.m. I'm like, why am I going, or sorry, 9 p.m. I'm like, why am I going to bed this early? But I
Yep.
just felt so dead. People don't realize that you don't have to be active to get tired.
It's all brain when you're playing competitive. It's all brain work. Like that's all you're using. You can't just like autopilot on it. You're fully locked in, you know? Like it's a different type of thing. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but
100%. Hey, listen, the brain as a single organ consumes the most energy. That's all I'm going to
yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Do you think content creation has changed from when you started to now in terms of like, you know, I guess like YouTube shorts becoming more of a thing over the past like 2 years, TikTok as well, like being a thing. So maybe it's a little bit more like short content oriented. How do you think it's changed?
Yeah, I think it's more short form content. I mean, the meme is like when we would have like our team and stuff like that, you just need dopamine all the time. Like that was the biggest thing is just right. Like or that's just like the general joke is like people just need dopamine, fast dopamine. And now it's what I think it's called like doom scrolling.
Yeah.
So like content now is just like it's just short form, fast information. Like that's all the people are there. Like if it doesn't interest you in the first like 1 to 2 seconds, it's gone type of thing. So that's one of those things of just like it's kind of hard to be on stream and like do content all the time when like there's some times where it's just gonna be downtime and there's not gonna be anything going on. Um I do think like gaming stuff, I think overall on Twitch has kind of taken more of a plummet, I'd say.
Really?
Versus like doing like IRL stuff or like doing anything to related to like drama or like I think reacting is still a big thing, like react streamers or like reacting stuff. Like people just like to see like people's reactions and like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like, whoa, you know? It's just like one of those things of like, oh, this is like a thing of like this is just like fast form interesting content rather than being like for me, I think MOBAs are in a rough spot personally, like for like newer generation stuff. Like I think the whole like nothing going on for let's say like the first like 10 minutes of a MOBA, it's just not interesting to watch, you know?
Yeah.
And I think viewership wise across the board, I think that also kind of shows like I think League was down on viewership. I think Dota was down on viewership like compared to other years and stuff like that. I mean, obviously that could be like a lot of things, like people get older and they leave, like that hasn't been a thing. But I think like when games are going like 46 minutes or to 54 minutes, like I think that it was kind of the average was like 40-45 minutes on League this year. That was kind of like the average length, and like sometimes there's not anything going on, but there is like that post like 10-minute mark where everything just like changes, like the game completely flips, right? And that's where I think kind of Deadlock kind of captured something there.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to actually ask you about.
I think it's like it's kind of there, like it has a very good base, like that's why I think everybody has enjoyed it so far, is like the Deadlock base is really good, where like it stops that thing of like when you're controlling your character kind of like Smite, where I think that's like Smite's prime point is that you're full control of your character so you can have a lot of energy and everything there. But when you're like there's like that whole laning phase of not doing anything, or like when you're going to go do your own jungle, you're not really doing anything. It's just kind of like the same thing on repeat, where like Deadlock is like there's not really jungle buffs or camps to go do, and it's like your first like 1 to 9 minute mark, it's all skill at that point. Like you're fighting in the lane, you can't just leave the lane, like you have to fight the person and gain control of your lane, so you have to fight, like it's enforced to fight. It's even more enforced now with like creeps doing more damage to each other's creeps, so it's even more like you have to fight for each other's lane. And then you're bouncing around. There's still dead time 100% in that game, where that's again like that's the biggest thing of trying. I think like the evolution of MOBAs is going to be like how to make the game pace quicker but not feel like you're just playing team deathmatch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's where I think like to capture new people's like attention spans and stuff like that, like that's where I think it needs to go. But like for example, like the buffs in Deadlock right now, it's just like on a bridge, it's a straight line, and the only way to get it is if you're there first and you capture it. So it's a huge like contestant point at 10 minutes, and then it's every 5 minutes after that. So they've got that little thing going. I think like it's like the first like 1 to 9 minute mark can be a little bit rough sometimes. Like sometimes nothing happens, you're just sitting there. So that's I think a thing that they have to kind of work on. And I think that's all MOBAs in general. But again, that's their laning phase, so it's really hard to like fix that, you know?
Yeah, no, well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I definitely agree with you that I do think MOBAs are like slow to come to action. But the one thing I did like about Deadlock, or I don't know if I necessarily liked it, but the one thing I thought that was interesting about Deadlock, just watching some competitive games here and there, is that sometimes, yeah, you're right, like there just wasn't anything going on. But then other times too, I was just seeing like these grouped up team fights at 3 minutes. I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is 3 minutes into the game. What's going on here? You know?
Yeah, funny enough, I think like since it's a 6v6, they're obviously like Deadlock is like full in the testing phase where like they change things like how game mechanics work like every patch.
Yeah.
So they do like every 2 weeks of a patch they do. I'd be interested to see if they do like if they make like a more role based like kind of MOBA, and it's like now that you have 6 people, you might have 2 junglers and then 2 junglers gank. And it could be a thing of like, okay, now they're just going to be fighting a lot more because now you have 2 junglers ganking all the time. So there's different ways that they can go about it. I don't know what direction they're going to go about it. If they like it currently where there's people laning in the laning phase, or if they want jungle spawning instantly and then they have 2 junglers jungling and then they go gank everywhere. And then it's a thing of like, oh, this is like actually crazy because it's 4 1v1s and then there's 2 junglers that can be anywhere type of thing. So there's different ways they can go about it. It depends. They like testing stuff. There's been things that they put into the game, they test it, and people play it for like 2 days, and then like this is absolutely awful, and they take it out instantly. Like they don't like. It's kind of like all community feedback. Like they have their Deadlock Discord, and like they get all the information they need to get, and they get things out and in if people like it or not. They're very like quick to listen to all player bases as well. Like if the intro doesn't like it, but the high end like it, they'll tone it. But if like both don't like it, they'll get rid of it. If one, like if the lower end player base likes it, but the high end player base doesn't like it, then they'll tune it like for where it doesn't really affect the lower end player base, but it affects or like it fixes like the high end issue. Because at like initially when they had the urn, which is kind of like the Gold Fury, where you would take the urn from one side and move it to the other, they introduced it so it would be favorite on your side if you're 7% ahead. So like in lower end games, the game's pretty much equal across the board. But in like higher end games, you would steamroll them, and then like one team would be super far ahead, one team grabs the urn and it's on your side of the map, and you just go turn it in, and the game's completely equal. And the game would be like naturally just like at a competitive level would be completely equal every single game. And they're like, okay, we got to change this, and they changed it to 10%, and that fixed the issue. So just like things like that, like they won't remove it, but if both sides don't like it, they just get rid of it type of thing. So
yeah, no, that's actually really cool to have that adaptive sort of updating to the game. That's really nice. I will say, I don't know how you guys like, I try streaming a little bit of Deadlock. I don't know how you guys do it and try to like and can be active with your community, because I feel like that game takes dude, it takes so much focus. Like I'll like look at chat, lose like 3 things, get ganked, die. I'm like, dude, you guys killed me. Like fantastic.
Yeah. That's definitely the hardest thing is like even when I'm streaming it, like I'll be locked in and like I'm playing like the laning phase, and like during the laning phase, that's your biggest mess up part. Like I don't want to like, and I like read chat for a second, then I'm like dead, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, like you just can't do it.
It's very hard. Yeah, it's a very like uninteractive like chat game, I'd say.
What advice would you give someone getting into content creation nowadays? Like if you were just starting out in today's era, how would you approach it? Would you recommend, starting out on YouTube, maybe starting with like YouTube videos and like going into streaming? Or would you recommend just start streaming on Twitch, or maybe doing a bit of both? Like what would you prioritize?
I think both is the correct thing, because you grow both your communities at the same time in theory. It's very easy to promote, like let's say you're a streamer that's streaming and you have like 1 viewer every single day, but you make a YouTube video and that video gets, let's say, 40 viewers, right? But if you promote your Twitch channel right at the beginning and like maybe in the middle and maybe at the end, you have 3 like promotional spots, and you have more chance to pull at least like 1 or 2 people. A lot of the time, the only problem I would say overall is that people from YouTube don't transfer to Twitch. That's like a big thing that just doesn't happen. I think now recently with the multi-streaming that people are doing with, I don't do it personally, but with people streaming on YouTube and Twitch, I think it's been a lot easier to convert them, because usually people just have, they just have like Twitch chat open, or they have like something that just has both chats. And then usually people just tend to respond more to Twitch chatters. That seems to be the biggest thing. I don't know why. It's just probably just easier just to see like one chat overall. But yeah, no, that's just a thing that I've been seeing. And then I wouldn't recommend multi-streaming at the start. I think it's less beneficial for your YouTube videos and a weird YouTube algorithm stuff. You know?
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
I think there's something weird there. It does affect your videos overall. But I will say, I do think doing both at the start, like Twitch streaming and making YouTube, and then just promoting your Twitch on your YouTube is the best way. And then doing shorts. I think they're up to 3 minutes now, right? You can do shorts for 3 minutes.
Oh, can you? I thought it was just 60 seconds. Okay.
Oh, it might be 3 minutes. I saw something that was, they were doing something with 3 minutes. So I don't know if that's, yeah. But I'd say shorts are a big thing. I don't know if you know who Pirate Software is.
Yeah.
But he's been a huge person that says like shorts blew up his channel and everything like that. But just making like good eye-catchy, eye-candy shorts that are just like good, informative, fun, you know, things. But definitely shorts, in my opinion, would end up being like the future stuff just because of like how everything is. Everyone's just scrolling, right?
Dopamine, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like if you could only do one, would you just do Twitch or would you do YouTube? If you like only, because like that takes a lot of time, right? Like trying to do both, like streaming itself.
100%.
Yeah, so it's like if you say only, maybe you're a college student, right, and you want to get into it, you have classes, so like you can really only be on one platform.
I think Twitch's discoverability is awful.
Yeah.
Where YouTube's, I think, has gotten a little bit better. So I would say probably YouTube, because you have more chance to kind of like, oh, you have this one short that pops off. Maybe like with the new games coming out, like you have Stalker coming out tomorrow and Supervive coming out tomorrow. Those are both good games that you could just like throw in a short, and it's like some clickbait short, and it's like, oh my, I found this rare thing, and then you get like 1 million viewers on this thing. And it's like, oh, okay, here, and I let's just say you threw your Twitch up there just at the very beginning. It's like, oh, you can find me on Twitch, right? And maybe you only stream like one time a week or something like that, but you just threw that up, and then people are going to follow you off of that. And, you know, maybe 1,000 people out of the 1 million just followed you. And then you have like a chance of like when you load up that stream, like one time a week, you know? So it's like kind of that thing, but I'd say YouTube probably has more potential overall, but because you would have to record stuff for YouTube, maybe Twitch is better because you could just rip something from the VOD.
Yeah, it makes sense to like...
Yeah. It might be just Twitch, but Twitch's discoverability is awful. That's the only problem. Like, it's just really bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hard agree with that. I actually, you were part of the reason why I started growing on Smite. When I first started streaming Smite, I was, you know, maybe getting like 7 average viewers or something like that, 10 at most. And it was like that for a few months. And then I started getting a whole bunch of hosts from you, from Zen, Lasbra. Dude, you guys were like the morning duo stream that I loved because like one of you guys would host me. It was awesome.
Yeah, we'd team up and host.
Yeah,
90%
exactly.
you all the time.
And I started growing from that. But like I always think back to that. It's like, man, like if I wasn't getting hosted from these guys, like would I have actually grown on Twitch? You know, so it's like I agree. I think it's like discoverability, especially nowadays with how competitive it is, because everybody can stream and you have all these streams, and how do you differentiate between all of that? It's just so hard. Even if you're one story I tell is I have this friend who was Radiant in Valorant, top 5 Radiant player. And so, you know, obviously getting Radiant in Valorant, it's extremely hard. And he would stream probably almost every single day. And of course, you know, top 5 Radiant, and he would frag the top people. He'd average like 5 viewers. So it's like this guy's like cracked at the game, but like he's just not getting that transfer of viewership. So it's, you know, it's hard.
I think it's a bit of like a missed market kind of for games. Like I think like games and streamers kind of work hand in hand, and like YouTube creators and everything like that, they kind of work hand in hand. It would be really hard to micromanage it. But for like live service games, I think they could benefit from having a section that maybe updated like every day. I don't know like how you would end up coding it, but I'm sure there's a way to make it like automatically renew every single day, where they would just throw streamers that are streaming on at that time on like a little category or something like that. Like, oh, go check out these creators or something like that. That might have supposed to be for Smite 2, but but yeah, there would just be like things that would like cycle things out, and you're just like, okay, here's your creators of the week, and then here's everything. That's like things like I think live service games just kind of like miss out on. I understand like there's no benefit from the multi-billion-dollar company that makes the live service game, but like it's also a thing of like I think now out of all the times where like creators have like such a big voice and like can kind of kill your game before it even like gets to public. I think like a big example of that is the Ashes of Creation game that had like the really bad name. That's the MMO that's coming out soon, I think, or something. But it had the bad from creators saying that the game's just a copy and paste Unreal Engine store that has no effort in, and it's just like clickbait money thing. And then you have again Pirate Software being like, this game is phenomenal, like super fun. So then you have a battle, and it's like 50% of the people are saying like, oh, this is just a scam, and then you have 50% of the people are like, no, this is actually like a real game, like the devs really care. And it's just like that thing of like you just have like the creator mishap, and this now for this non-multi-billion-dollar company can kill your game completely, right? Like I think Asmongold streamed it, and obviously when he streams a game, there's people that are going to grief him.
Yeah.
And I think he had like 72k viewers or something like that, and there's a huge overlook on the devs, but it's open world PvP. But if you PvP somebody, it's like a really bad detriment. So once he spawned in to the world, in the building that you spawn in, you're safe. But once you leave, you can get PvP'd. And he just kept getting griefed, and he literally couldn't move from the spawn of an MMO. Like, and it was just like, that's like a really bad look, you know, like it's awful. But the devs were in their game, and they put like a global message out of like, it's just like a meme thing of like, don't kill the bald one, or don't mess with the bald one. And then the developer started banning people because they were griefing him. But again, it's like one of those things of like, that's the mechanic in the game. Sure, it's not like natural like it's supposed to be. Like if you're going to PvP somebody, it's going to be natural. You're not just going to snipe them and kill them. But yeah, no, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it's an interesting thing. Like content creators on like what they can do for a game, or like how they can ruin a game.
One thing I actually really liked and I miss is, so back when Mixer was still a thing, Mixer had like a top 10 for battle royales. I think it was top 10, maybe it was like top 5, but they pretty much had this like 24/7 channel that would start taking Mixer streams. And if somebody was like, I don't know how they did it, but if somebody was like in the top 5 or top 10, they would actually host it on that stream. So it's like people got continuous like top 5 action, let's say. And it was actually a really good way for like smaller streamers to kind of get their names out there too. Like if you're hosted on this channel that has thousands of views or viewers at the time, and then you do well, it's like, yo, this guy's kind of cool, let me go check him out, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I missed that. Twitch, come on, guys. Yeah, we need something.
I don't know how Twitch fixes the discoverability. I have no idea. I think that's like that's probably just I don't know how you fix it with like live streaming and stuff.
Yeah, I think they've been working on it though over the last couple of years, but I agree. I think it's still like pretty bad. It's still like definitely hard.
Yeah.
So you recently exited the Smite scene. What was the main demotivating factor that led you to leave Smite? I would like to think at least that this wasn't a spontaneous decision, rather one that was sort of built up over time. Maybe a lot of frustrations compounding on each other.
So once the like Smite 1 competitive season was gone, obviously there's like frustrations there and stuff like that. Like I checked out once we like learned about it in fucking June or whatever, that we had to keep our mouth shut on or whatever. But yeah, like that whole thing, I mean, I was checked out on. I was just like, whatever, like it's over anyway. Like I'm just gonna have fun playing competitive and then call it. And then I would just play and just hang out, have a good time with the guys, and just kind of do whatever in life. And then the following, like after Worlds, I had to end up going, or I had to go back home because I'm not paying fucking rent up there. It's so expensive. Or down there in Georgia, especially that area that we had to live in, is just ridiculous.
Really? Oh, that was outside of Atlanta too, right? Or
yeah. In Alpharetta, it was super expensive. Actually ridiculous. And then yeah, we had to, or I just ended up going home, and I was just like, I still like the game, like Smite's fun and all, and I'm just gonna end up playing it still. So I'm just gonna stream, and I just was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do content creation full time. and then I was just playing it, and I had a bunch of fun doing it. That was when I was doing my 12 hours a day every single day. So I did 12 hours every single day for 62 days. I did it until I had to like move over here. And then I still did 12 hours a day when I moved in here. I was like on a stool. I didn't have my chair because none of my stuff was here or whatever. I had like a makeshift computer, and it was just like a shit show, but I still was doing 12 hours a day. And then I had the stuff happen with my head and everything like that. And then that stopped my stream, unfortunately, because I just literally couldn't do it. It was just so much pain. But that's all good. There's nothing wrong. I don't even know what it was. I don't think the doctors know, but
Wait, really? they didn't?
Yeah, they don't know either. But it was just like, yeah, I don't know. There's a thing called chronic migraines or something like that, where like you don't get, like, you can just not get one for like 3 or 4 years, and then you can just get one, and it can last like a month, and it can last like 3 months long, and you'll just constantly have a migraine. And there's nothing you can really do. So I guess that's a thing. But so that, and then that kind of slowed down my streaming thing, and then I kind of got back into it once it faded away. And then that was kind of like the time around when like Smite 2 opened up to the public. We could play it beforehand, but the public couldn't, type of thing. And then like we played it, and then I was playing it, and I was like, wow, this is like actually like awful. Like they've been working on it for like a year. I understand like games take a while to work, but like to me it was just kind of a thing of like, I understand how things work behind the scenes with that company. And it was just like, I was like listening to what they were saying, and like I understand what they can and can't do. And then I would just like play it, and I played Smite 2. I played it for like the 2 days that I was open for that like alpha weekend or whatever. Like it got a lot of attraction on Twitch and everything like that. And then you look at the player base, like the top end player base, and the highest end was like 12.8k. And it's like, okay, that's still like a good start for like a buy-in alpha or whatever. I don't remember if it was like the free alpha weekend. I don't even remember at the time.
No, I think you had to buy the game, and then you got the weekends.
Yeah, I got it. Okay,
I think. I'm not sure, but yeah.
So like the first one was like the high end was like 12.8 or something like that. And then the next week or the next month, because it was monthly, it was monthly at the time. And the next month, nothing really changed. And it's like they had a month to work on things, stuff like feedback, and nothing really changed at the time. And that was like the really like scary thing. And then the game had like 6.5. And it kind of like, that kind of what like the trend was just going down by half every single like month to month. And then like nothing was really changing in the game. And like people were like voicing that. I think there was like a bunch of people, and I was just over there playing Smite, because after I played the first month of the first like trial or whatever, and I played that, and I was like, sure, like this is fun and fine. And then I played the one day when it released again. I was like, yeah, this is awful. And I just played Smite 1 for the time, and I missed the other one. I didn't even bother playing the next one. And then I was just playing it, and then a lot of the CEO stuff came out, obviously, like just like saying some dumb shit as he usually does. And then I was just like, okay, I CBA with this. Like, I'm just not going to pay attention. And then I just still was streaming Smite 1, having a good time because the game's still fun and whatever. And then like Deadlock was coming out. I was playing Deadlock behind the scenes when you couldn't talk about it and all that. And that was a good, enjoyable time. And I was like, yeah, this is probably the next like generation of MOBA. It's just evolution on the MOBA. And I was like, I was kind of enjoying that more than I was doing Smite. So I was kind of doing like 4 hours of Smite, and I would end stream and then go play Deadlock when it opened up at, I think it was like 7 p.m. at the time. And you would have like a very short window to be able to play it. So I wanted to put time into that and not be burnt by the time I got to play it. And then it was kind of towards like closer to when they were launching. And I think Stu said something else, and he was just like being stupid as usual. And then I was just like, okay, like there's just no, like for me, I was like, there's no way this game can physically succeed if the same higher ups are still there, because they caused the esports to not be what it could have been before. The higher ups are still there creating the same problems. Like, why would I sit here and want to play competitive and have those same issues? I was offered some team spots on different teams going into Smite 2. But like, I just don't want to be part of it. I don't want to deal with anything. It's just unenjoyable dealing, like esports side of things. All the people that work on that side, like great people, and they're really easy to work with, but it's always the higher end that stops everything from actually being successful. And then obviously with all like the layoffs and everything that ended up happening, it's just like a thing of like, I just don't see, for me, a future with that game, where I saw it with Deadlock, and I was just like, I'll just cut the Smite out and then go do Deadlock stuff. So that was kind of my last thing, and like, I really think that Smite 2 will succeed as long as Stu is not a part of it. I think if Stu is not a part of it, Smite 2 will succeed and have more thing, because I think overall, outside of the Smite community, I think High Studios has a really bad name, and I think what's it called, Stu has a really bad name outside of the community, and that's like a really bad thing to have when you're trying to make a new game, because it's just like you're never going to see the full potential of the game if people don't give it a shot because of the name of the company or who runs the company type of thing. So it's kind of like one of those things of like trying to get those issues away type of thing. So yeah, it's just one of those things. And then, yeah, I mean, Deadlock was new and I tried it out and streamed it. Never had like great viewership on it. It's just, again, hard category to get into. It's swapping categories is like impossible on Twitch. It's super hard to like bring viewership over. And then, yeah, I was doing, competitive stuff over there and whatever. And then I started gaining traction. And then, yeah, that's kind of how I got rid of my Smite stuff. But I might still play it like here and there. Like I might, like, people have been asking me to try Smite 2 again or go back and try Smite 1 again. I'm not like, I don't like hate it completely. Like, I'm not going to play it, but to me, there's just no point of playing it right now while it's being developed, because it's just going to hinder what it could be. Like that type of thing. Like if I go back now, it's just like kind of the same, or like maybe it's a little bit better, but it's not like where it's going to be in the future. Like I'd rather just wait till it's done, like, or almost done, or like more open to the public. So yeah,
definitely. I mean, I've been gravitating more towards Apex recently because of that too. It's just like Apex for me has been a funner game. I've also been kind of craving that FPS gameplay again. I kind of like miss playing that a lot. So but yeah, no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So I mean, I guess like you do kind of see yourself in the future with Smite, if it can actually like recover like a pro league and stuff like that, like you can see yourself maybe coming back and competing.
Maybe, I don't know if I would do competitive again for Smite. It would take a bit for me to want to do it. I'm not too sure if I'd love to do it or not, type of thing. But Smite itself, like, has always been fun, and it was really fun to just sit there and like the first time where like I didn't have to play Smite competitively, like I could just play Smite for fun, like Smite 1 for fun.
Yeah.
And like that was like a big thing of like, oh, this is actually like enjoyable. Like I can just sit here and play Smite 1 for Smite 1, not play Smite 1 for being the best player,
Yeah.
So yeah.
I remember I would get up early on Saturday mornings with like two friends, and we would just grind joust the whole day, and it was just so fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
so fun.
Sometimes it's like, sometimes competitive can take the fun away.
Yeah. I mean, this was back on console too. Then we run into like Jengaru, Commando snipes, and it was like, all right, I don't want to play anymore. Those guys are too good. So yeah, one thing I actually did want to talk about is sort of like your recent transition to Deadlock. And I know, like, talking with you beforehand, you've kind of been not playing Deadlock as much, but at least when you started out, I was told that you were like grinding Deadlock like all night.
Yeah.
Is that true? Like, were you just playing like the whole night, putting in like tens of hours?
Yeah. The top end players right now, that are like playing right now, that's like when I was playing it all the time, like those are the players that we were playing against. Like that was the first like 1,200 players that had the game. Like those are the players that you would always face, like the top end players, because there was MMR at the time. So you, like, as long as you played, like you would always be in their lobbies and stuff like that. So that was always fun. And I took a little bit of a break there and just focused on doing Smite stuff, and was just playing Smite full time, just for, obviously it's my income, so had to focus on that. And then kind of flip flop, and then once it came out, I just ended up streaming it and still enjoyed it. It took a little bit of getting used to, because the game, it is just hard. Like the game is just fundamentally very difficult. So yeah, I mean, I was just hard grinding that and had fun with it, so stuck with it, type of thing.
What kind of void do you think Deadlock filled for you that Smite couldn't? Like what, like, mechanically did you like so much about the game?
I think the mechanics of the game from like outside of like the really basic like MOBA thing, there's just a lot more to the game, which makes it like a lot more enjoyable. Um, like you can't just like kill a creep and get the full creep, and you can't just use an ability and clear the full creep wave. So it's not just instant. It's kind of like that thing of like what Dota and League has, where like you have to like you can't just use an ability on the wave, clear the wave, and leave. You have to contest the wave, contest the person, poke the person out, and it makes that laning phase like actually difficult because there's a lot of different things going on that. So like League focuses on you just have to last at a creep, and like the high end you don't really hit creeps. You just last at a creep while poking the other person out, or like you know manipulate the wave. There's a lot of wave manipulation in League, but that's the same on like Deadlock. But Deadlock, you have now the deny mechanic, so you have to like last at the creep and then deny or like confirm yours while also poking them out and not getting poked. So there's a lot of different things that were going on there. I think they introduced a unique mechanic, though it's RNG, which is like the boxes, and you would go do box runs and stuff like that. Like, or you'd have like different routes that you would run depending on your lane. That was really unique. I thought that was a really cool idea where like you just hit different boxes, which gave you souls or like little buffs and stuff like that. And you just run around and hit everything. That was a unique mechanic. I think it got you like out of the lane, doing a little route, and then coming back and like holding your lane, and I'll be out, like all that stuff. But yeah, that was like a different unique thing. And then I think the layers to the team fight not being very like, okay, we have this comp. I'm not just going to like, it's not just like a front to back comp, because there's obviously height to the game. And then there's also just like, there's just a lot of different things like actives in that game. For example, they're like, you know, anywhere from like 15 seconds to 40 seconds. They're not a like 3-minute cooldown or like a 2-minute cooldown. They're like all over the place. So like there's like an active in the game, they for 3k souls you get a silence, and that silence is on like 22-second cooldown. So like you could get silence instantly, it would grab you, and then you have like you would die in those like 2 seconds that the silence was active. So there's a lot of like positioning things and like a lot of different things of like there's like a barrier in the game, and you can give barrier to other people that saves them. And there's like, okay, I'm gonna try to kill this person, and I'm gonna use this silence on one of the carries, or I'm gonna use something to slow down the carries from killing people, and then just kill this frontliner. But like just because I killed this person, we dumped everything. Like just because it's a 5v6 doesn't mean like the fight's over. There's like so many like layers to a team fight. Like, oh, I can get flanked from the ceiling. Like they can drop down below and then kill me from behind, like as I'm a carry. You know, there's just so many different things. It was really cool and unique. It's just like, oh yeah, I like this. Like this is cool. Like it's a lot of layers where like obviously like Smite's just one linear like layer, and it's just like, okay, you try to pluck this person right in front of you and then try to kill this person. Like that was kind of it. And then like sometimes you get flanked, and then obviously flanks happen with like junglers and stuff like that. Same thing in Deadlock. But like there's a lot of thing of like, okay, I'm on this rooftop, I have an angle that I'm looking down on that I'm safe from, and I can just shoot downwards and I'm safe. Like here, I'm not gonna get flanked. Or like, okay, like I'm in the jungle and there's somebody hitting behind a rock and I get blinked on and I'm dead instantly. You know, like that. There's like still a lot of like layers to it and like a lot of options. The biggest thing I think overall was like the item store. I think it was a very unique take on the item store being like actives, just like, because I think in all MOBAs, I think even Dota included, actives are a long cooldown. Where like in Deadlock is a very short cooldown. Every like I think the highest cooldown right now is a 40-second cooldown, and that's like a leap that gets you like a lane to lane basically. So it's a long cooldown for that purpose. But like everything's a shorter cooldown, so there's a lot more that go into fights, and it's a lot more forgivable. So like for example, like in the game there's a combat blink in the game in Deadlock compared to Smite, and like I can combat blink aggressively and I can combat blink passively. It's on a 20-second or 23-second cooldown, but the distance isn't super long, so it's not like I'm gone just because I blinked out. Or like in Smite, the distance is like almost the same as it is in Deadlock, but it's a 240-second cooldown. So there's just a lot more like outplayability in Deadlock. There's a lot more that goes on that kind of capture my attention. Or like I think Smite's hindered by like heavy CC, so you need Bs, or like heavy like XYZ, so you need this and this, and it's just like a thing of like I can't really like, I don't feel being able to use my like items, where like in Deadlock it's a lot more forgiving to use your items aggressively or passively, and it gives you that kind of like option.
One thing I was struggling a lot with Deadlock was the fact that whenever I was in a team fight, I couldn't really like beads any of the CC that was hitting me, so I just started like
No.
complaining about like all the
Yeah.
CC and deadlock. I know there's technically like a beads item,
Yeah.
or active, but like you can't use it while stunned, right? Or like if you're already stunned, you can't use it, right?
It depends on which CC it is. So like if you get like Wraith ulted, for example, you could use it in it.
Okay.
Because you're not silenced or like cursed, I guess is what they call it. But like you can use your relics in it. But like there's some that do like hard block you. But a lot of the CC in the game isn't super long. There's also like everybody can buy defense in the game as well. That's like a big thing. We're like in Smite, you can't just kind of buy like the defense, like tier 1 defense in Deadlock is cheap and everyone can get it if they want it, or like whatever type. It sets you back on your build, but like it's forgiving. We're like Smite, I don't know, I haven't played Smite 2 recently, so I don't really know, but there's just not like when I was playing Smite 2 at the beginning, there's not a lot of like defense options for cheap that are just kind of like there just to cover you for like the first like iffy scenarios of like, oh, I just got caught out here, I'm dead instantly, versus like, okay, I got caught out, but I'm not dead instantly because I have this item, and it's not setting my build back too far type of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, actually, everybody kind of feels pretty tanky right now, and then you hit like you go into a 6-item carry late game or 7-item, and then like you just die instantly. But yeah, no, I think the cool thing about Deadlock was sort of the verticality, as you were explaining, of the gameplay, right? Like being able to go up onto a roof, right, and kind of like aim down at like a 30-degree angle or something like that.
Yeah.
But also to the freedom. So obviously the freedom to be able to do all that, but also the freedom to build. As you were saying, like the item system, I think is really, really cool because I can build spear damage, I can build more like gun oriented damage, and I can also build more tankiness. And you can also like, you don't have to go into like a set system for the tree either. Like you could save up 6k or 7.3k and then get the last item if you want to.
Yep.
So I mean, like I agree with you. I think the building in Deadlock is really cool, and also complications, or it makes it very complicated, which is awesome. Yeah. But then too, also the developers put in that build system. Were you using that at the beginning, like using like other people's builds to help you sort of?
Oh, at the very beginning, they didn't have it.
Yeah, they didn't have
to do it yourself. Yeah, you have to do it yourself.
Okay, yeah.
But now that people have their own builds and stuff like that, I just use like I either make my own or I just use somebody else's and kind of just use that as a guideline.
Yeah. No, I thought that was like a really, really cool feature that they added. Yeah. So I wonder if that was like more of a community feedback thing too.
I think they ended up doing like something like it very early on before the game publicly came out. And then it kind of just got like, it was kind of like buggy. You can really move your items around, so nobody really used it at the time. Then they ended up fixing it up again. It was a little bit cleaner for the launch to the public. And then recently they did an overhaul now where you can like move everything anywhere you want. So it's really like organized. Like instead of like having like, okay, box, it's like, okay, you can like move this box to be like a longer rectangle, and then you can have like 4 rectangles across. It's organized, like it's very easy, like shop usage, like it's very easy to look at type of thing.
So, that's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Would you say like, so you were recently on like a really good Deadlock team? It was like you, El Leon, Pure Content, Dapper, yes, the Dapper from Valorant, and Sizz. And you guys won the and actually I think it was Ronda's at the time, but you guys ended up winning the first, what was it, the Showdown tournament?
Yep. The BoomTV one. Yep.
Yeah, so you guys won the very first Showdown tournament, which means obviously you guys are all, cracked at the game. Do you think your MOBA knowledge from Smite really helped you to excel in Deadlock early on? Like really help you to grasp Deadlock?
Yeah, I think so. It's a different type of MOBA, so it's a little bit harder. Just playing competitive versus like casual, it's like probably the biggest difference I've had for like MOBA experience. Like Smite ranked to like competitive, there's a big difference obviously, but it's like kind of similar. But like competitive Deadlock to like normal Deadlock is like a completely different game. Like a lot of different things like happen all the time, of like things that you can't get away with, or like a lot of different rotations happen because it's like there's like wave holding, so that you can funnel one person. So there's a lot of funneling going on right now in competitive Deadlock, where like someone like in one of your soul lanes hold the wave, they eat the creep damage and like eat poke and everything like that, and they'll just sit there, and they have one of the people from the dual lanes run over, grab the wave there, push the next wave, then run back and get the other wave there. So there are 4 waves compared to your person that's just 1 wave or 2 waves. So there's a lot of different things like that, and there's I think the quickness of like how fast people play the game and like how fast they do a rotation, just like instant kill somebody. Like if you're just like at a tower and then you just like instantly get 3 men rotated on, there's 3 ults burned, then everyone's just dead instantly. Like there's a lot of like quickness, and a normal Deadlock game like at 10 minutes is like straight equal, but at the very high end for Deadlock, for competitive, the game is like completely one-sided and it's just like a blowout. So
yeah, so a lot of snowballing.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Would you say Deadlock is mostly a MOBA or a shooter?
Yeah, I would say like 80% MOBA and for me 20% shooter.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's I feel like I've had this like combo with people, and like when I was playing it, no, I agree. I thought it was like mostly MOBA. People were telling me it was like mostly shooter, and I was like, I don't know, man, because I feel like if you just don't get the lead, then it doesn't matter how good your gun skill is, you're just gonna get owned. Like that MOBA aspect is so important to building that lead. And even if you're not as good as the person that you're going against, if you just have like 2 items on them, like it doesn't, like you're just gonna own them regardless.
Yeah. I mean, one of the best players right now in the game, a person named Lefaa. He is probably the best aim in the game right now. I guess he was like a long time Overwatch player, never played competitive, but he was a long time Overwatch player, and he has put a lot of time into like aim labs and everything. I mean, he has the best aim. He's really good at like, he's transitioned that like really good aim into like farming and the MOBA aspect. Even like if you watch his play, as good of an aimer as he is, he's doing more MOBA than he is doing shooting. Like sure, like when he's playing the laning phase, there's like that's the main, in my opinion, that's the main shooting aspect is your laning phase, just because the more poke you get on somebody, you're gonna win the lane, right? But and there's one character that really, if you're a shooter player, he's called Infernus. Like that character really benefits you if you're a shooter player. If you're hitting every shot, you're gonna constantly tick. So biggest thing though is like poking out people, and like that's where your shooter aspect comes in. But like if you watch his play specifically, he clears the lane and then goes to do jungle. Like after 3 minutes when everything spawns, he clears the lane, pokes you out, and goes to jungle. Like that's like if it was just a shooter, he would just sit in the lane and just keep shooting you the entire time. But the MOBA is like creating your lead, going to do jungle, going to do a box route, going to do this, and you get this lead and keep going and going. And then when you're fed, that's when you decide to fight. And that's what he does. That's exactly his play style. He clears wave, goes to farm, comes back to wave, farms, gets big, doesn't take any risks. Guy has like the lowest deaths of anyone. And he just like, once he's fed, then he starts to fight.
Yeah. Did you do that spectating like you used to back in the day?
Yeah, no. Yeah. But like I watch people all the time, like streaming and stuff like that. I watch a lot of like the best players and stuff.
Well, I know Deadlock, I know Deadlock 2 also has a really good spectating thing, right? Like they have a whole tab dedicating to just spectating the top matches and the players, which is really insane, actually.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for those struggling to get into Deadlock? Say players that don't really have a MOBA background or maybe aren't too well versed in shooters. Is there anything that you can recommend for those players?
It's a tough game. You're gonna get shit on. There's no way around it. Like it's a very hard game. I think just play like the characters that you enjoy. Don't look at like any like meta tier list or whatever like that. I always recommend for any MOBA in general that has, I mean, Deadlock doesn't have a lot of characters, but any MOBA in general, I'd say lock in like maybe 1, 2, or 3 characters. Make sure you get comfortable on those 3 characters and learn the game through those 3 characters. Just choose whatever fits your style, play those 3 characters only. And try to, even if you're going to get bored or burnt on them, just try to make them play. Like every character in that game, you can build differently, which allows you to not get bored on the characters, in my opinion. But just learn the other characters through those characters, it makes the game like a lot easier at a base level. Like if you just slam one character and you're like, oh, look at these 5 different characters I just faced. Maybe one of these people were like a good matchup into this character, so I have to be more careful this time. And you kind of start to learn like different things overall and just lock in those characters and learn the most. That's how I learned. I played 2 characters as much as I could. And that's how I learned the game, is just playing those characters all the time. And then I slowly learned other characters, and then you evolve your hero pool, and then that's how you learn it. But yeah, that's the easiest way, is just look at what other people are doing, ask questions in streams, and then just run around and, you know, play the game and try to learn as fast as you possibly can with just using like 2 to 3 characters.
Dude, amen to that, man. Like, I feel like I tell people that too. The same exact logic that you just used, right? Like, if you're learning a new game, play through one character, because once you learn that character, like your brain subconsciously, you're just not focused on the character anymore. Like it's second nature to you, and then that way you can just kind of focus more on the actual game itself. So like, yeah, no, 100% agree with you on that one. What do you think about Deadlock's future? Like how confident are you in Deadlock's competitive future? Do you think it's gonna, blow up? Do you think it's gonna be big?
Not too sure. It's hard to say. I think the game will do good no matter what. Just because, I mean, even it being in, I don't even know what you call it. Alpha invite only, maybe, I guess you call it.
Is it still invite only?
Yeah. With it being invite only still, and it's still holding its like, I think it's still holding its like 60 to 80k players. I think that's a good proof of concept that there will be people interested. I think a lot of the bigger streamers that have left, like, I mean, Lyric has started coming back and started playing it again, but I know like Shroud and everything that were playing it a lot of like the, like the shooter players and stuff like that kind of wanted to see it evolve first and see where it went from there. Biggest thing that I would say is probably that it being a 6v6, I don't know how much interest orgs will show. Because it's a lot more money.
Yeah.
Like, I think the biggest one comparison wise would be Overwatch, right? Overwatch was 6v6.
I think so. You had two tanks, right? Overwatch 1, and then it became 5v5 on the remake.
Yeah, so I think Overwatch 1 had like, it had obviously a lot of interest. It was Blizzard and everything like that. There was a lot of orgs, I think, that threw interest, but I have no clue how much money was in it for the orgs and stuff like that. I don't think the prize pools were anything like crazy. So I don't know how much money there was for the orgs and stuff like that. Obviously, Blizzard took a different thing and they made, they tried to make like a franchise. They tried to franchise it, which was different than any other esport. So that's obviously a little bit skewed and stuff like that. But there was obviously like some crazy buy-ins and stuff like that for the game. But I think like, I don't know how monetarily it is for the players, because I mean, like, let's say every single player in like League, for example, I think like the low end for the like Challenger or something like that, or like the Challenger League or whatever they call it, I think it's like 60k or 70k or something like that, and that's for 5. I think it's something like that. Like, I think a lot of the low end players actually get pretty well. Like now you're talking to the top end where some people are making like 600k or 700k a year and like millions and stuff like that. We're like, now you're adding that extra player in on top of like, if it is a true like huge esport, then you have like a coach that comes into, and then you have a manager role, and you have everything like that. We're like, right now, I don't think esports is in the best spot right now, so I don't know how much that's going to play a factor. So I don't know. It'd be hard. Yeah, I think there'll be a future if Valve decides to pump it. Like, obviously, if Valve does like the thing that they with Dota TIs, where they're throwing in like fucking like 40 million into the game, like, sure, it's going to be massive. Like, that's just a given, right? Like, everybody wants a piece of that pie. But like, if they don't, and they might do like a CS route, it could change. I don't know. I think the way that CS has theirs with the majors and everything, I think that way is better than having like one world championship, in my opinion. I think like having like 4 majors a year, or like 5 majors or whatever, how many they have a year, is like a really unique way to do it. And it allows more fan interaction and stuff like that. Like, that's what I will always wanted for Smite, is having majors and have as much fan interaction as you can, which then grows the community in general. And then it also allows orgs to come in and have less, or like more opportunities to make money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, like that. So yeah, it's hard to say.
Would you like a league system into those majors, or just like having those majors spread out across no league at all, and then maybe you just have like a qualifier tournament online that actually gets you into those tournaments?
Yeah, I think like maybe like a shorter league system would do. Like, I think if you're gonna have 3 majors, I think having like like, if it was like 3 500k majors, maybe having like a month, maybe like a month and a half of like a tournament, and then like, then you have like your ranking or whatever. That could be like a point system, or however you want to do it. and then it becomes whoever has the top 2 points, maybe auto qualify, the first place team auto qualifies, then the others have to play like a little tiny tournament, maybe like worth like 10K or something, and then they just get put into the major, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do think majors are the biggest way to pull people in. I think that's why CS is so successful, is because there's so much fan interaction, so many fan interaction possibilities. And also, like, when you look in the stands, like, everybody has like a t-shirt or like a jersey on of something. So, you know, the orgs are making money. So like it goes back and forth, you know, like it's just one of those things. So,
And it's also like really fun too. I know as a sort of competitive player, maybe you can, like, maybe you agree or disagree with this, but I really like going to events, right? Like being able to go to an event and not just sit at home all day, every day. Like, obviously that's part of what we do. That's our job. But like when like looking forward to an event that's like 2 months away, I feel like it's really, really fun, and not just having 1 or 2 events a year, but actually like having an event like maybe every couple months, every 2 or 3 months, right? I don't know. To me, that's something I look forward to more as a player. I think that's just more fun all around. One thing I want to ask too and get your opinion on is, so one of my critiques about Deadlock recently has been, I think its player count is extremely high, but I've been sort of like looking at the numbers on Twitch, and the numbers just don't really seem to add up. At least to me, they don't really seem to add up to how much hype it was at least getting, and how and its actual player numbers. So like, you know, sometimes I'll see 7K on Deadlock. Other times, if actually like some really big streamers like come on in our streaming, you might see like 20K. But yeah, it's really weird. Do you like have any opinion on that at all? Is maybe the game just not as viewer friendly?
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I would say is the game is not very viewer friendly. I think there's a lot going on, and it's also not a game where you can really interact with your chat. So that's like one big thing, I think. But I think a lot of people are just playing the game and maybe not know that there's like that much of a streaming scene. I think Dota 2 has it where they have like a watch tab or something that you can go like click on, and it opens up the Twitch category or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
But I don't think like Deadlock obviously doesn't have it. There's no like thing or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to know also who's good, I guess, at the game. Like a lot of the current big streamers, like Mikhail S is a big example. He was just like the first person to start streaming it, and he just blew up. And everybody knows he's good at the game. But like even his teammates, they don't get like a lot of viewers, for example. I think it's a thing of like people just don't know names, and there's not a lot of discoverability for the names, or like because there's not an official like league, for example, there's no way to know who's like great. And I feel like a lot of the time on Twitch, it's either like you have people watching you because you're like funny or entertaining, or it's because you're really good at the game. I feel like it's usually those two, for gaming specifically. And it's like, I think the one thing that sucks about Deadlock is that you can't like, it's kind of hard to be like funny and not like ruin the game for other people. There was like a player named Vegas who he used to play PUBG competitively and stuff like that. He took one of the characters in the game named Kelvin, and he like goes on an ice path and you can run around and stuff like that. And they moved boxes and crates to 2 minutes, and he would build full movement speed on the character. It was a nickname of an Amazon worker. It would go full movement speed and full CDR and just run around on an infinite ice path, going to collect all of the boxes like around the map and stuff like that. But like it was like good, but it would grief like everybody else's game because all he was doing was just stealing other people's boxes and crates and stuff like that. Or like the other players, like they couldn't lane because he was just gone. So it's like a type of thing. Like it's kind of hard. But yeah, I don't know. There's like fun things that you can do that are like it's just like fun to do it and it's not bad. But it's also that like it's just kind of hard to do it. I don't know. I think a thing that they could really utilize in the watch category is the way that you could link your Twitch. So when you're on that like top end on the watch category, people can like maybe like a tiny box of like your Twitch, like a little Twitch logo. You can just click the Twitch logo and it pops up the person's stream. Things like that could be really unique, I think. I'm sure they're not against it. I'm sure it's just not a top priority right now because they're trying to make the game, obviously. But that's like an easy way to do it, I think. I do think it's just not very user friendly. There's mods in the game, or like add-ons, kind of like World of Warcraft, that you can install and like kind of mess around with your UI and stuff like that. No gameplay altering things, it's not allowed. Like you can't just have like auto things on. But like you can change your UI. Like my icons, for example, they're not like the circles that go like this. It's just a straight line squares on the very bottom, so that kind of cleans it up. There's one as well where it takes your HP bar that's on the side, that I think I fundamentally, for the player it looks fine, but I think when you're watching you don't even recognize your health, and it's hard to see where your health is. Like it's very like when you're watching, you're just looking at where the player is like aiming, you're looking at the little tiny like reticle, or like the player is looking at the HP bar, the reticle, the character, and their abilities. But for like a player it's hard to see, and so there's like a add-on that you can do that moves that to like a kind of like a Smite health bar. It's like on the bottom, and like you have your health bar here. It's really simple, it's nice and easy to see, and then it's like you have like, if you have the different shields, it has that above it, so it's easier to see the reference. So yeah, there's different things that you can do for sure.
One thing I actually wanted to ask too, because you were talking about discoverability, is that after you guys won that tournament, the showdown one, did you see like an increase in viewership at all when you started streaming after that?
Maybe a little bit, not too much. I kind of always bounced around like the 80 to like 110 viewers, I think, when I was streaming Deadlock.
That's still really good for Deadlock, though, I think. Like, especially transitioning to a new game. And that's one thing I want to ask you about, is that do you really have any advice for like content creators looking to change games? Because I know even the top end streamers, ones that are getting thousands of viewership, has a lot of trouble like transitioning. I think Incon, if I'm not mistaken, tried to transition to Apex at one point. I don't know if it really worked out or not. Adapting, I know, has tried to transition to Apex, and like the viewership that he was getting in Apex as opposed to Smite, I mean, it's just not even a contest, it's a fraction. Me as well, when I try to bounce between different games, like it's not a contest.
I don't know if there's any like, it's kind of just luck. Like the variety streamers are the biggest, like they're just like the biggest creators because they can stream anything and get like whatever viewers they want. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the general like joke of the thing is like Smite viewers don't watch anything else than Smite. Yeah, and like unfortunately that's where all the streamers are coming from that we know closely as like the Smite streamers, and they just don't watch anything else. I don't know, it's really weird. Like even I think Weekend is probably the most successful one who can kind of stream whatever he wants. Like I think when he streams like Throne and Liberty, he gets like 500 viewers maybe, or 400. I think he's almost getting more viewers on Throne and Liberty than he is on Smite too.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd. I mean, for me, for example, when I was streaming Smite and Smite 2, when I was streaming Smite 2, the category was so like, this category was like so top end, it wasn't even worth streaming Smite 2, where I would just stream Smite 1 and get more viewers.
Yeah.
And now I've heard that now both categories are running into an issue of 24/7 drop streamers. I mean, that's on kind of Twitch's end, but that's also on like Hyro's end to get them out. So I don't know. But that's also an issue for sure, because any game that has drops is going to have a AFK drop streamer that's always going to have more viewers than the people that are below.
It kind of sucks too from like a viewership standpoint. It's like, do you guys really want to like put your viewership to this 24/7 drop channel? Like, I know you want drops, but come on now, support other people.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So like, obviously like your viewership has like sort of decreased since, you're streaming Smite to Deadlock now. Has that demotivated you at all when it comes to streaming, or did you not, really pay it any thought?
It didn't really demotivate me. I was always like passionate to get more viewers from whatever. I think it's just like the game's just not being the most enjoyable time sometimes. And again, it's like the difference between Smite and Deadlock, I'd say, for like streaming purposes, it's very hard. Like the point of streaming is like to interact with your chat and have a good time, where like in Deadlock I can't really do that. There's not a lot to do unless I do something like really stupid or funny, and like there's obviously interactions there. But like when I'm streaming Smite, I guess maybe because I've played the game for so long, I don't know, like I can just like kind of autopilot the game and then just like look at chat and have fun with chat and like do fun things and whatnot. Where like Deadlock, I can't really do that. So it's kind of like a hard thing, I'd say. So
yeah, definitely. Well, I just have like a few more questions, just a couple more. For you, what is the best piece of advice you've been given when it comes to gaming? Was there anything that you were told when you're kind of getting up in the scene that you might also that benefited you, but might also benefit others if they hear it?
I think the biggest thing for me is always be very careful. Like if you're trying to, I would say like for a competitive standpoint, the biggest thing is just like always be careful with your ego. I think egos, as good as they are to have, also are very like hostile for your own play. Like if you always think you're the best no matter what, and like you're doing nothing wrong, you're never going to grow. Like you can be the best at some point, but then if you always think you're the best no matter what, there's going to be somebody else that's going to be better, and you're going to have to like adapt and learn from that. But if you always think you're the best no matter what, you're never going to be able to grow, and all feedback that you get is not going to assist you. I think there's been like players that have had that issue with Smite in every game. It's just like it is good to have an ego, but it's also good to like keep yourself in check. But yeah, that's my best advice: is just be really careful with egos. Egos are very like tippy-toey and also can be used against you. Like if people know that you have an ego in a competitive game, like people will abuse that. So it's just something to be careful about.
Yeah, I've used that in rank sometimes. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We do it in competitive games. I mean, I've abused that. I know who has had egos in games and stuff like that. So
did they not let you guys like kind of shit talk each other from both the booths? Like, was that looked down upon at high res?
It was soundproof booths, so you couldn't. But you could like stand up and say like whatever. But
yeah. Like I remember like the Q. I think it was Cuvo did like the little thing with his mouth. I'm not gonna say it, but yeah. I was like, man, why do I not see more of this? It makes it so much more enjoyable. Looking back, what's been your proudest moment in life? This could be like gaming or just like in general.
Proudest moment. I don't know. Probably lifting up the trophy. I don't know.
Yeah,
that was a very like high point in my life for sure. I was a happy camper.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And do you have any like major regrets at all? Like maybe there's some team opportunities you didn't take in the past that you kind of wish you did later down the line, or maybe some teammates you didn't want to team with. We can keep that out, but
not really. I mean, I've been pretty happy with everything that's like how it's gone. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe not sure. I guess biggest probably thing like mistake that I've made or like regret would be not streaming it instantly after Worlds, because that would have just set me up like entirely for like future stuff and whatnot. Especially that was like a high point in my viewership. So after winning Worlds and getting MVP, definitely if I started streaming then, like probably would have made a lot more money that way.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Well, Ven, dude, thank you so much for doing this, man. Absolutely appreciate it. We just killed over 2 hours and I was just having a blast with this conversation. Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, of course. It was a great time. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.